Welcome back to another episode of the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast. This is episode 182. I hope everyone is having a great day, great night, wherever you are around the world. A lot to get into on today's show. Of course, Duke choking a 19-point lead to the UConn Huskies. The UConn Huskies going back to the Final Four. This is a big college basketball episode. Of course, the Sweet 16, Elite 8 recap. We'll get into the Final Four preview as well. I'm super excited to record for you guys today. But before we officially start, make sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast. So much to get into on the show. ABS system with baseball this past weekend and how effective that was. Tiger Woods' recent mess this past Friday that he just had, of course, him being arrested, the DUI, all that as well. The Celtics clinching a playoff spot, 50-win season in a gap year. We'll talk about that. Jason Tatum's historic feat, hitting the 14,000-point mark, second youngest Celtic to do it, if I'm not mistaken, or youngest Celtic to do it. But we're excited about today's show. So the first thing we'll get into is we're going to talk about the Sweet 16 recap. About that, then we'll get into the Elite Eight, and then we'll follow up, of course, with the Final Four. But the Thursday games were good. I didn't get a chance to watch most of the games because I was at an event in Southwest Florida here. I live in Estero, but we were in Naples for the Naples Legend Sports event. That was an awesome event. I got a chance to meet Michael Vick, Jim McMahon, and Andre Reed. I thought it was an amazing event. It was super cool. I was an honor to be there. I was personally invited, so that was an amazing thing to be a part of. But listening to Jim McMahon, Andre Reed, and Michael Vick's stories were just remarkable. Of course, they asked briefly about Michael Vick's, off the field stuff and how, his life changed and how, he went from, here to there, from here to there in a very short time. Jim McMahon beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl, which I did not even know that it was. I always forget that it was the Patriots that was their Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl against the Chicago Bears in the 1985 season with William Perry, Jim McMahon, Walter Payton, Mike Ditka as the coach. So got a chance to hear all those cool stories. That was awesome to hear about. Andre Reed's time with the Buffalo Bills, got a chance to chop it up with him even after the event. So that was really cool. Hopefully we can get him on the podcast. I talked about it. He said, you can shoot me a message. So we're working on that as well. It'd be awesome to get him on, talk to Jim McMahon as well. Michael Vick dipped out of there early, but it was a great event. So many cool stories. And I posted that stuff on my Instagram. So make sure to go check that out on my Instagram if you do follow me on Instagram. But it was an awesome event. Not every day you get to see legends in Southwest Florida or just in your everyday life. So just a little tidbit to share with you guys of my personal life, because I didn't get a chance to watch most of the Thursday games. But Arizona beat Arkansas 109-88. That was an absolute blowout. And I know I did say on the podcast last week, I did talk about Darius Acuff if he does will his team to beat Arizona. Obviously, that was a crazy thing to say. Darius Acuff was not going to be able to accomplish that. Arizona is a powerhouse. Now they're going to be playing Michigan this Saturday in the Final Four. We're going to talk about that. But hats off to Acuff on a great career there for one season. Maybe it's crazy to say hats off for one season, but he's probably going to be a top 5 pick. If he's not 3, he's probably in the 4 to 5, slips to 6, but he's probably somewhere in there. We're going to talk more about that, when it comes to draft time for the NBA. Way too many more things to talk about. But then you had Illinois beating Houston. And you know what? I didn't think this was going to happen, to be honest with you. I know Illinois' got Keaton Wagler, but, Houston's got Kingston Flemings and, Sharp, and Kelvin Sampson's a great coach. Just played the Gators, my Gators, in the national championship last year, blew that 10-point lead. Heartbreak for them. And they only get to the Sweet 16. I, thought in a perfect world it was going to be Florida and Houston in the Elite Eight, battling out. Maybe Houston getting their revenge from last year. Illinois had other plans. No discredit to them. They are a great team. They're in the Final Four against UConn. But then you move on to Purdue and Texas, and that was a great game. I caught the end of that game at the event. I was watching on my friend's phone. My friend Samuel, I was watching on his phone, sitting there, and I'm like, oh, my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then Purdue ended up beating Texas by 2 points, and you got to give Texas credit for getting to the Sweet 16, being an 11 seed, being one of the first 4 teams in the tournament, being as a bubble team of potentially not even getting in. And they found themselves in the Sweet 16 on Thursday night. And you got to give them credit. And I thought it was a great season for them. Nothing really to be upset about. And the fact that, Purdue's Trey Kaufman-Renn saved the day with a game-winning putback with 0.7 seconds left. It was neck and neck, and then you get to the end there. And that's what we live for. That's what we live for. Sweet 16, Elite 8, now into the Final Four with March Madness. And I know everyone loves like the buzzer beaters and all that stuff there, but I just love the ending. I love the Sweet 16. I love the Elite 8 because it's like these are the best teams left. It's like, yeah, the round of 32 is fun. The round of 64, you get the excitement, you get the thrill. But once you get to the end there, like, maybe a little spoiler here, like Mullins from UConn and a shot with 0.4 seconds left. Oh, goodness gracious. Then you had Iowa beat Nebraska 77-71. Iowa getting to the Elite 8, of course, knocking off my Gators the week before, giving them credit, the momentum carried over from Florida. And then you move on to the Friday games. And I got a chance to watch some of these games. I stayed home. I didn't do anything Friday night. I was just tired from the event Thursday night. But then you had Michigan and Alabama, you had St. John's, and you had Duke, and you had UConn and Michigan State. So those three games were good. Michigan, Alabama, that game was good. There was a neck and neck for most of the game, or for the first half at least. And then, Michigan pulled away, showed that they were the better team in the second half. And, you got to give credit to Axel Lindenborg. He's been one of the best players in this tournament. Of course, they're going to play Arizona this week. But I love the way Michigan was able to will their way back into the game. It was very, gritty. It was very tight the first half. And then they showed that they were the better team. And then, of course, Alabama didn't have Aiden Holloway. So that was a big thing there as well. But I mean, it would have mattered. Yes, I don't want to say it wouldn't have, but I still think Michigan would have won the game. They were favored by, I think the spread was 8.5 against Alabama, and they covered that. They won 90-77. And then you had the Duke St. John's game, and that was a great game. That was beforehand, but that was an excellent game. Duke was down 10 points. I know, Duke, you're still recovering from the Sunday loss against UConn. I got some Dukies listening to this podcast. They were down 10 points, and they came back against St. John's. So you got to give them credit, but give St. John's credit. They might have been robbed as a 5 seed. I mean, Duke was the better team, but Boozer and Isaiah Evans, they led the charge, with Isaiah Evans with 25 and Boozer with 22. But, Pitino almost did it. It was such a good game. It was such a close game. Duke and St. John's, Pitino was trying to get his revenge, of course, and that didn't happen. But, then you had the UConn-Michigan State game, which was really late. I could not stay up for it. I caught the highlights the next day, and UConn, I forget the run they went on. They were up massive in this game. And then Michigan State stormed their way back into it. And UConn ended up winning this game by 4 points. But, it was a classic, blue blood grind between these two teams. Michigan State's not a blue blood. UConn is. But two great coaches with Hurley and Izzo going at it, heavyweights. Something had to give. And it was a great game. And, of course, UConn followed up with the Sunday game. You guys know I'm excited to talk about that game. But, this game was basically a pick'em for a reason. These two teams are very well coached, and something had to give in this game, and UConn pulled away and they won the game in the end. But then you move on to Tennessee and Iowa State. These games were all good. Iowa State was missing their best player. Tennessee, got to give credit to them for getting to the Elite 8, winning this game, even though Iowa State was favored in this game. Tennessee, they were too much on the glass. And that was the thing, that was the thing in the Michigan game as well in the first half, or for the first part of the game, not the entire first half. But Tennessee, they willed their way in this game. I mean, they were just physical all around, only allowing 62 points in that game. You got to give Rick Barnes credit and his staff, almost advancing to their first Final Four against Michigan. That didn't happen, but, give them credit for beating Iowa. And then, of course, you move on to the Saturday games, and you had Illinois beating Purdue, and Arizona beating Purdue. Arizona was down by 7 points at halftime. I actually bet on this game. It was 38-31, and you're sitting there like, oh, Arizona's going to come back and win this game. But it was close. I mean, you were nervous as an Arizona fan, and then, Purdue kind of ran out of gas, and then Arizona just went on full go mode. I mean, they're one of the most explosive teams in the country with Koa Pete, Braden Berries, Karchenov, and Bradley. Like, they've got stars all around there. Of course, Tommy Lloyd has got those guys playing excellent. I mean, they outscored Purdue 48-26 in the second half to punch their ticket to the Final Four. And that was the storyline of the game, was the second half from Arizona and Purdue. Purdue, Smith, Lawyer, and Kaufman-Renn, they did as best as they could, and you got to give them credit, of course, being as a Purdue doing what they were able to do. I mean, they were good in the first half. They really were. I mean, they had everything going for them, and then Arizona just proved that they were the better team in the second half. But Koa Pete was the guy for this game. Dropped 20 points, 10 of 18, 7 rebounds. He became the 6th freshman in history to score 20 plus in both the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. He's been one of the best players in college basketball this season, and they proved why. Purdue had a really bad second half, and that was the storyline of the game. Arizona just kind of beat them down like they've done all year to teams. They're way faster, and they're just more explosive as a team, and that's exactly what you saw. So the next game, the game before that was the Illinois-Iowa game. And you got to give credit to Iowa, even though they lost this game. They hung in there. I watched this entire game. They hung in there as best as they could. Ben McCollum and his guys with Sturtz and Fulgaris and Banks. And Illinois was the better team. It wasn't a secret there. It was a gritty Big Ten game. It was very tight throughout. It was a 5-6 point game. It was a 2-3 point game with like 8 minutes left. I mean, the score makes it seem like it was a lot different than the outcome of the game, like, of course, but that wasn't the case. Iowa was in this game all the way through. Illinois pulled away at the end, of course, with Keaton Wagler, but Iowa was winning this game in the first half. But Brad Underwood and his guys have just kind of willed their way, and they just basically proved, hey, we're the better team. We're going to wear you guys down in the end. Of course, the fouls at the end of the game, and Illinois was dominant on the boards. That was the big thing there. But I want to give credit to Iowa, for even making it this far. I mean, you can consider them as a Cinderella run. They made their first Elite Eight since 1987. They knocked off my Gators. They beat us fair and square. I said this on the podcast when it happened. I swallowed my pride. It was what it is. And we'll talk a little bit about Florida, comparing them to Duke, because Duke fans were coming at me on social media saying that, oh, Duke's loss isn't as bad as Florida's. I'll get into that in a little bit. But right now, got to give credit to Iowa where credit is due. Illinois moves on. Then you move on to the Sunday games. And of course, you had Michigan beating Tennessee. And I mean, they were just an absolute buzzsaw. 95-62. The spread on this game, I'm pretty sure, was 8.5. I did take that as well. It was moving between 7.5 and 8.5. And actually, Tennessee was up in this game early. Their bigs were dominating on the glass. I was like, oh my gosh, what is Michigan doing? They can't get anything going. And then they went on if I'm not mistaken, a 21-0 run. Michigan went on a 21-0 run. And the rest from there, it was just a blowout from there on out. And that was the biggest thing of this game. Michigan with Lundeborg, with Mara, with Burnett, Dusty May, as a great coach he is. I mean, they just dominated this game. I mean, Tennessee, Gillespie was just chucking up shots at one point. He finished the game with 21 points, but the storyline from the first half of this game was Tennessee's bigs getting in foul trouble. That was the key to this game. And that was another thing too. You saw Mara for Michigan. He had 2 fouls early on, and you're like, oh my gosh, their best big is going out. And then they bring in their backup big, and he did just as good, and the floor spacing changed, and then the rest from there was on out. I mean, like Jackson Lindenborg, 27 points. He had a move in this game where he went like up and under, and I was like, that was insane. And Jackson Lindenborg is an NBA pro. He's probably going to go late first round. He might even bump his stock up even more if Michigan does win it all, or he's excellent against Arizona. Man, those 2 heavyweights, I can't wait for that game. But yeah, the history for this game, Jackson Lindenborg became the first Michigan player ever since Juwan Howard, their old Michigan coach, in 94 to score 23 points in 3 consecutive NCAA tournament games. Nothing to discredit what Juwan Howard did when he played for Michigan. He wasn't a very good coach there, but that's not the storyline of this game. But the quote from this game from Dusty May is, once the defense started clicking, and Lendenborg, he said, once the defense started clicking, we got out on the break. I think the game was pretty much called right there. Yeah, I think so too. You got to give Tennessee credit for getting this far, beating Iowa State and getting to the Elite Eight. They were no match for Michigan. I didn't think in this game, I'm like, Michigan's going to dominate them. Florida beat Tennessee by 20 plus earlier this season. I was like, Michigan's going to absolutely dominate them. So, you want to give credit to Rick Barnes, though. This was his 3rd consecutive trip to the Elite Eight and their 3rd consecutive loss. I mean, it's very tough. The NIL now, Tennessee's not Michigan, and they proved that in that game. And he just can't win the big one, and that's the storyline of it. Unfortunately, it can sit here and rip on Tennessee. They made it further than Florida did. So, but you know what? you got to give credit to Tennessee for getting this far, but Michigan was the way better team. And just his second year at Michigan for Dusty May, he has built a juggernaut. They have 11 victories by 30 plus points. Now they got Arizona in the next one. All right, guys, maybe the highlight of the show. And I've been waiting for this one. It just happened Sunday night, and I couldn't wait an extra day. I had to prep a few things yesterday. Illinois. I'm getting too excited here. UConn beating Duke 73-72. Well, if you want to go back to the first half from the game, I mean, oh my gosh, UConn was getting dominated in that game. If the score was, UConn was down 19 points at one game. They shot 1 of 18 from 3 at one point in this game. Caravan was nowhere to be found. Curley was getting out coached. Terrace Reed was the only reason why they were in this game from the first half. And then the second half came around and they were still down. They were down 12, 13 points, and they still just kept chipping away. And then you look and you're like, holy crap, it's a 4 to 5 point game. And Duke started to fold again. And you know what? I don't know what to say for Duke fans. I really don't. I can sit here and I can rip on you guys until it hits midnight tonight, until the clock strikes April 1st, right? But the thing is here is how do you blow a 19-point lead? How, right? And you got to give credit to UConn for coming back in this game. Hurley and his guys, they didn't play their brand of basketball. They were terrible. Only reason why they were in this game was because of Reed. They had the late fouling trouble at the end there where they had a horrible possession at the end of the game. They're down 3 points. They hit the one free throw. Solo ball misses the one free throw. He hits another one, and you're down 72-70. And then you get Duke into that position that you did. Duke doesn't call the timeout. They inbound the ball. Cameron Boozer inbounds the ball, pass it to his brother, and of course, everyone knows what happened. And it's terrible. It really is. But that loss is not all on the players. That loss from Duke is on John Shire. You were up 19 points, and you started to slow the game down late in the end there. What were you thinking? You had this last year against Houston when you were up 14 points, and you were up 9 basically with like 2.5 minutes left in the game last year with Cooper Flagg. This year you had Cameron Boozer. And I'm not going to put the blame on Cameron Boozer because I'm pretty sure he finished this game with 27 points. It is not on Cameron Boozer. This loss is on John Shire and of course his players. But you're up 19 points in this game and you can't hold a lead. Like, listen, you can sit here, you can blame Caden Boozer for trying to throw the ball up or throw the ball away. Go back to March 6th when John Shire showed his team a clip from when the Chicago Bulls were playing the Phoenix Suns from Trey Jones, a former Duke player, and he was saying, "Guys, what are we supposed to? What should Trey Jones do in this position? Throw the ball away." And that's exactly what the players weren't. That was the players instructed to do by Caden Boozer. He was instructed to throw the ball away. All you had to do was hold on to the ball. You know, in a situation like that, they're going to be, all you have to do is hold on to the ball and they're going to foul you. You don't even have to do anything or just take the 10, like anything but that. And you know what? Give credit to UConn for sticking in this game, being down 19 points, coming back, not going away, showing their brand of basketball, wear you down, be gritty, Hurley style of basketball. That's how they are. New England type team, UConn, give them credit. But you know what? Aside from this game itself, Duke since 2016, they won the national championship in 2015. The star-studded teams that they've had, they've amounted to 0 national championships. Here we go. I'm just going to give you guys this here because we're going to get into this part here real quick. The 2019 team with Duke, the team they had, probably the most hyped team in college history. You know who they are. Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish, Zion Williamson, and Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, and Zion Williamson. Excuse me. I'm getting too ahead of myself. You had that team and you did nothing in the tournament. This year, you did nothing in the tournament. Okay, you made the Elite Eight, but you had a lock to the Final Four. Duke probably would have, I would very confidently say Duke would have made the national championship if they were to play Illinois in the Final Four. I thought they were the best team in the tournament. Who every year everyone thinks that, but they get to the end and they choke constantly. As a Duke fan, for Duke fans out there, because I'm not, all I'm saying is I feel bad for you guys because you stack all these teams. And listen, Obviously, these players are going to want to come play for Duke, especially now with NIL, but they never win anything. Okay, they beat Wisconsin in 2015. I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about the pre-NIL era when you would get everyone. You still do, but you still can't get to the mountaintop. This is 2 years in a row now that you've done this with your teams. You had the Cooper Flag team last year with Con Kneppel, and this year you had the Boozer twins with Isaiah Evans and Nangba, and you do Elite Eight. That's it. But not even just getting to the Elite Eight, right? You blew a 19-point lead. Like, surely, like in the first half, I was texting my friend. I was like, there's no way. No, come on. He goes, I'm not satisfied. I'm like, you're not satisfied. You're up 19 points. And he's like, and then he texts me after the game and he goes, exactly why I'm not satisfied. And now, no lead is ever safe in basketball. It's a game of runs in college basketball, just like the NBA. But a 19-point lead like that, you can't hold a lead. It just blows my mind. Guys, listen, the teams that Duke has had over this course of from 2015 and on, from 2016 to now, like, you would think, oh, that team's not going to lose. That's like Team Canada. They're not going to lose the Team USA. And then they do. But they got outcoached. They got outcoached in the end because they were up 19 points. And surely you would have thought, you're like, Duke's athleticism, their speed, the talent they have. No, they're not going to blow this lead. And they do exactly that from the same thing they did last year. The new era, Cooper Flag, Kneppel, the Boozer twins, more 5-stars, more top overall classes, and another Elite Eight collapse where they blew a 19-point lead. The Boncaro year in 2022, Coach K's final ride. They had Paolo, Mark Williams, and AJ Griffin. They made the Final Four that year, but they suffered to UNC. I remember that was with Armando Bacot. UNC went on and they went to the national championship and they lost to Kansas. The Tatum year, Jason Tatum, Luke Kennard, Grayson Allen bounced in the round of 32 by South Carolina. Of course, we mentioned the 2019 year. And listen, these guys have all gone on to be great NBA players. But you know what? Sometimes, like I said, we recorded this last year. I didn't think this was going to happen again, and it worked out perfectly, right? You get all the way to the end like you do, and you choke, and you have all these freshmen, good star-studded guys. And I'm not saying you shouldn't go out and go get those guys. You absolutely should. But don't complain when you know they're only there for a year and there's absolutely zero chemistry. And this loss is a lot on John Shire. That's another thing there. But guys, you know what? You got to give UConn credit where credit is due. And how good they have been since Dan Hurley has taken over has just been remarkable. I mean, remarkable. Here it is right here. I can pull up some of the stuff here. Think about this. During back to their title runs in 23 and 24, they won 12 straight NCAA tournament games. They're going to another Final Four. They went back-to-back in college basketball 2 years ago when they beat San Diego State and they beat Purdue, the first team in college basketball since the Florida teams with when the Gators did it in basketball with Billy Donovan, 06-07. You have that there. It's just remarkable what they've been able to do. Since 1999, UConn has 6 national championships. To put that into perspective, that's more than Duke, North Carolina, or Kansas in the same span. They're the winningest program of the 21st century. That's absolutely insane to think about. The fact that they shot 1 of 18 in this game and they finished 5 of 23 and they still won the game. You will remember that shot by Braden Mullins, if that's his correct name. I have a lot to write down. If you will remember that shot for ages. That will go down as the Leitner shot. That will go down as a Chris Jenkins shot. You will never forget that shot if you love college basketball. If you're like a John Rothstein or, any one of those people that love college basketball, you will never forget that shot. You will look back. They will replay that shot in classrooms. They will replay that shot in New England history. Even if UConn doesn't win it, they came back down 19 points. They will always replay that shot. Yeah, Braylon Mullins. Yeah, I got it right. All right, guys. Then we're going to move on to the Final Four preview with UConn and Illinois. And you know what? Two heavyweights going at it. Number one offense versus the number one defense. Keaton Wagler, Caravan, Hurley, Underwood. Illinois has not been in this position basically since I've been alive to think about. UConn was just here not too long ago, and something's got to give. But you know what? I cannot bet against UConn in this game. They're riding the momentum in from the Duke game. I think they are the better team. They beat Illinois earlier in the season in November. But I just think UConn, I think they're going to play a much better game. And you know what? I don't think they're going to shoot 1 of 18 from 3. I don't think they're going to shoot 5 of 23 from 3. I don't think Caravan's going to be a no-show in this game. I think they're going to play much better as a team, and something's got to give. But Illinois is a big team too. And can they shut down Terrace Reed? Can Keaton Wagler be that guy? How is Brad Underwood going to have these guys ready for this game? There's going to be something that has to give in this game, but I can't bet against Dan Hurley in this game. I've got to go UConn. I know Illinois is favored, but in a world where you didn't think UConn was going to make the national championship, I didn't think they would. I thought it was going to be Florida and Michigan, or Florida and Arizona, or one of the 1 seeds. That's what I thought. It's going to be 1 seed, and it's going to be a 2 or a 3. However, though, I can't bet against UConn. I really can't. All right, so the next thing is probably the second part of the best part of college basketball of the show. This really is the national championship. This is Joe Frazier versus Ali. This is this is it. This is Jordan versus LeBron. This is Kobe versus MJ. However you want to go about it. Arizona versus Michigan. We are getting the matchup that we have all wanted all year. Arguably the 2 best teams in college basketball. I think the Gators could match up with either one of these teams just as much. Of course, they lost to Arizona opening night. They didn't get a chance to play Michigan. However, though, Dusty May, Tommy Lloyd, the stars on the floor for Saturday night is going to be amazing. Karchenkov, Pete, Berries, Bradley, Lendeborg, Mara. I mean, it's just going to be an awesome, awesome game. Something's got to give in this game. Obviously, Arizona likes to play high flying. They like to run down the court. They're like a rocket ship. And you got Michigan, who will wear you down. They're big on the glass, just like Arizona. Michigan's a better coach team. I think Michigan's a little more deep than Arizona. And I know I saw the line was Michigan minus 1.5. And that was my thing too. I was looking at this spread. I'm like, I think Michigan's going to be favored when they drop this game, when they release it. And lo and behold, Michigan's favored for now. It could be a pick 'em at the time of the game, but something's got to give in this game. But I love the way Dusty May has had this Michigan team has played all year long. I think they've been the best team as a complete team. I think Michigan has been the best team in college basketball all year because you only suffered 2 losses. You lost to Wisconsin and you lost to Purdue. You lost in the Big Ten championship. Who cares about that? Doesn't even matter. And you lost to Wisconsin earlier in the season. You probably should have won the game, but they've dominated teams all year long. They've been the most complete team in college basketball. They should win this game. I think this will be a very, very tight game, obviously looking at the spread. But, Arizona leads in the series all time 9-2. Michigan is carrying the flag for a conference. Big Ten, it's been 26 years since a Big Ten team has cut down the nets. Michigan State won in 2000. That's right. Of course, with Illinois on the other side. But I mean, you saw Dusty May, of course, in 2023, and you have Tommy Lloyd, how great he's done with this Arizona team. But you know what? Something has got to give in this game. This game could go either way. Michigan could come out flat, but you know what? It's just going to be an awesome game. I can't wait. Maybe you see some runs in this game, the momentum shifts. Like who knows? But 2 star-studded teams. They got, Koa Pete, of course, is a first round pick, along with Yaxel Lendeborg. So those 2 heavyweights are going at it right there. But if you guys are looking at the betting guys are looking at the over-under is 157.5. And of course, Michigan's favored. If it's me, I'm taking Michigan minus 1.5. The over-under, I'm not touching that. I know Michigan scored 95 points against Tennessee. I think Arizona's better defensive team, but Michigan's great defensively as well. They only let up 62 points to Tennessee. Arizona's much better than Tennessee. Something's got to give in this game. But then I got my national championship, UConn and Michigan. I can't wait for that. I could be wrong on either way, but that's what I'm picking there. All right, guys, moving away from college basketball. That was the bulk of the show. The second half of the show, we're going to talk about the ABS system in baseball and how effective it's been this past opening weekend. And then we'll move on to the NBA. And then we have, Tiger Woods' ending segment there about his catastrophic, stuff that he was just involved in this past Friday. Well, of course, the MLB opened with opening night was this past Wednesday. The Giants versus the Yankees. The Yankees beat the Giants. Then you move on to the Thursday and the Friday and the weekend games. But that's not the part of it. It's the ABS system, which should have been implemented a long time ago in the MLB. We saw 175 challenges triggered by players. The biggest takeaway: the players were often right more than the umps. It is remarkable. I think it is going to change the game of baseball forever. We talked about this last week on the podcast. Overturn rate, a staggering 54% of all challenges resulted in overturned calls. Let that sink in. Listen, guys, I think it's awesome. You get to actually see now. And you know what? The Eagle Eye catchers were undisputed the MVPs of the system, winning 64% of their challenges, 59 of 92. Hey, anything's better than if more than a 50% conversion is amazing. The struggling batters. Hitters were a bit more hopeful than accurate, winning only 42% of their 78 challenges. Like we talked about last week, if the NFL has challenges, if the NHL has challenges, if soccer has VR, why the heck couldn't we have the ABS system in place a long time ago? It should have been in a long time ago. And you know what? The reluctant pitchers only challenges 5 times all weekend, winning 2. Pitchers aren't going to challenge as much. Like Chris Sale said, I'm never going to challenge an ump, which I think that's foolish. I think if you're confident in yourself and you've played baseball your entire life, I think that if you know what you're talking about, which I'm sure he does, you should be challenging an ump. It turns out they'd rather let the catchers do the dirty work, and I don't have a problem with that. But the perfectionists, the Cincinnati Reds, went 6 of 6 against the Red Sox, my Red Sox, on challenges. They turned 2 call strikeouts into balls in extended innings. The wasteful ones, the Astros went 0 for 6. And of course, C.B. Buckner, the umpire, Hall of Shame, was terrible this weekend with the new 6 of 8 challenges against his calls. That's another thing too. It's like the one thing I love about this is you're calling them out. It's like they're not always going to be right. Just because you hold a job doesn't mean you're a perfectionist at it. Umpires, referees in all sports, just because you call a call doesn't mean it's right. Yeah, they should have the right to challenge you, just like they do in the NBA, in the NFL, in the NHL. Challenge it. They're not going to get everything right, but if you're losing 6 of 8 challenges against his calls were successful, were the new tech 6 of 8 challenges against his calls were successful in a single game, something might be a problem, and they're not always going to be right. And I love it. Call them out on their bluff. Just like there's been egregious calls, and now if you think you're right, tap that helmet. Tap that helmet. I love it. The 15-second rule. The best part of the weekend, the reviews only averaged 14 to 15 seconds. It didn't kill the flow. It actually added a high-stakes drama beat to the game. Yes, that's another thing with baseball, too. Baseball, like, if you love baseball, hats off to you, right? Tip my cap to you, right? But thank God for the pitch count now, or excuse me, the pitch clock that they added in. They add the extra runner on base when you go to extra innings, and now you have the ABS system. It's going to make the game more exciting. More people are going to want to watch because it's like that's not a ball, that's a strike. It gives something more people to talk about, and that's exactly what we're doing right now, and I love it. I think they should have implemented this a long time ago, and now you're finally seeing it. And like I said, it is going to change the game of the MLB forever, and just baseball in general. They've used it in the minors before, and they've tested it out, but now you have it in the majors. And another thing too, here it is, the Francisco Alvarez moment. Mets made history by recording the first ever successful regular season challenge at Citi Field. It turned a walk into a strikeout, and the very next pitch resulted in a home run. The momentum swing was instant. Exactly. That's another thing too. It's like you're in the 9th inning and you're up to bat, and CB Buckner or whatever umpire it is botches the call, and you think he's wrong, and you have a runner on. Oh my gosh. Or you have the potential of being walked. It's a 3-2 count and he calls a strike. It can change the game. And we're going to have these in the playoffs. And I love it. I really do. I think it adds a more excitement feel of the game. And listen, not everything is going to be perfect in baseball, but the fact that we have this technology now is exactly why we should be using it. We have AI. Now you have ABS system in baseball. I love it. I think it's one of the best things that they could have added in baseball. I really do. Framing is dead. I've got to mention this. If catchers are winning 64% of their challenges, the art of framing is officially on live sport. That's another thing too. I saw a call yesterday. People were like, the catcher did a perfect frame job. It's like, no, that was a ball. That wasn't a strike. Why try to trick the ump when you can just tap your cap and get the 3D replay? That's right. That's another thing as well. I love it. I think it's great. But we're going to move briefly on to the NBA, and then we'll wrap with Tiger Woods. Well, of course, the Celtics hit 50 wins this past Sunday against the Hornets. And what? The Celtics hit 50 wins? Oh my gosh, in a gap year? Like everybody thought the Celtics were going to be in a turmoil season. No Jason Tatum, most likely for the year. Jaylen Brown can't lead this team, and they're the 2nd seed in the East. The Celtics season is coming to an end. 50 wins. Jason Tatum with 32 points against the Hornets this past Sunday night. Hornets fans have been talking, but they got barrel rolled by the Celtics this past Sunday. But that's not the here nor there. You have to give credit to the Celtics for accomplishing 50 wins in a season where nobody thought they were going to do that. Everyone thought, maybe a play-in team, maybe even a lottery team. Who knows with just Jaylen Brown? Like, Tatum's not coming back this year. They've got no hope, and they find themselves winning 50 wins. Their 12th straight playoff berth. How remarkable is that? The streak stays alive. And then of course, in a rebuilding year, they did it. And that's what I think makes it even so much more remarkable. It's like in a rebuilding year, like the Celtics were never supposed to be in this position. Nobody thought Tatum was coming back. Like maybe like after when the new year started, you thought, oh, well, maybe they make maybe Tatum comes back, but they were good at that point. But beginning of the season, nobody thought this. And if you did, hats off to you. Yeah, the preseason narrative. Exactly. Remember back in October, the analysts had them as a play-in team at best? Because I remember it. I wasn't a Celtics fan then, but I still remembered that they weren't going to make the playoffs. They were maybe a play-in team. And now you have them at 50 wins, second seed. And I don't think anyone's going to beat them in the East. I really don't. The way Tatum has played the past couple games, he's starting to get his legs back, 32 points. And not just that, too. Another thing, Tatum is the youngest. Tatum now is the youngest Celtics to score 14,000 points for his career. I think it's a remarkable thing. He put up 32 points in the clincher. He's healthy, he's fresh, and he's ready for April. Exactly. That's another thing too. Tatum is finally starting to get his legs under him. But Jason Tatum becomes the youngest player in the history of franchise to reach that milestone. Doing this at 28. He did it younger than Larry Bird, did it before Paul Pierce. And I just think it's awesome. He would have done this if he didn't get hurt, of course, with the Achilles. He probably would have had this earlier this year. While Tatum is the youngest player to do it, we still have to put some respect on Larry Bird. He still holds the franchise record for the fewest games to do it, hitting the mark in just 582 games. Tatum did it in 596 games. But you know what? I just think it's awesome that Tatum did this, and he's only 28 years old. Like you're already putting his name up there with the legends and the greats, the Larry Birds, the Havliceks, the Russells. Like, oh my, like, can you think about it? It's like already, like, that's what I love about it. But listen, 14,000 points at this age, already has a championship, putting himself in that category, and looks like he hasn't really missed a beat coming back from the Achilles injury. And I that's still another thing. It's almost been a month since he's been back, and you wouldn't even have known that he had an Achilles injury. All right, the last part of the show is Tiger Woods this past Friday with the DUI and his history. And it's like, we recorded a clip about this, but it's time to break it down a little bit more. The fact that Tiger Woods did this is just like, I can't process it. I'm like, Tiger Woods, you are a multi-million, you're a billionaire, and you can't get a driver. There's more to this story. There is. Tiger Woods needs help. He really does. I don't think he's going to be playing in the Masters in next week. And this isn't the first time he's been involved in this. In 2021, he almost lost his leg. In 2017, he got a DUI. And the irony, this just happened days after he looked great in the TGL. We thought the old Tiger was back. We got the 2017 Tiger again, but he's got problems. Like, you're a billionaire and you can't get a driver. Like, it just blows my mind. It's like Tiger Woods is very lucky that he didn't kill somebody or he didn't get himself hurt. And it's like in a residential neighborhood. Like, what are you thinking? He blew a 0-0 for this one here, but he failed the urine test. And the crash, of course, happened at 2:00 in the afternoon. And he's very lucky that nobody else got hurt. He clipped the trailer in front of him. And here you go. Here's his history. 2017, he fell asleep at the wheel. 2021, he had the LA near fatality where the car was basically in shambles, had to amputating his right leg. He almost lost his leg. And then, of course, you had this one here in 2026. It's like, Tiger Woods, you have a child. Like, you have people that look up to you. And the people out there that walking around the golf course or just getting Tiger Woods mugshot shirts, like, shame on you. It's like, making this a parody is absolutely embarrassing. It's absolute disrespectful. It's like, Tiger Woods is a legend and he's ruining his image. He's ruining his legacy by doing things like this. It's like, Tiger, if you need help, go into rehab. It's like, you've got millions and millions of dollars. You're a billionaire. You're worth 1.3 billion, if I'm not mistaken, and you can't hire a driver. And the ironic thing about it is after he was arrested, he had his driver pick him up. It's like, listen, man, if you need help, nobody's going to fault you, but do it the right way. Don't put yourself in harm's way. Don't put somebody else in harm's way because you're being selfish. It's like, he's very lucky that nothing else happened. He's very, very lucky. And you know what? I hope this is an eye-opening. I hope this is a wake-up call for him more than anything, because like, people aren't going to judge. People are going to judge you for this, right? But they would be like, oh man, you know what? If he would just take accountability for his actions, for the things that he has done, especially this one here. And it's not like this is the first time. This is like multiple times with Tiger. Like I said, the 2021 one, the 2017 one, there was one years in the past. It's like, dude, go get yourself some help. Nobody's going to fault you for it. Really. I mean, you can look at it here, of course. In the 2021 when he was going 87 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone. Of course, he hit the tree so hard, they'd use jaws of life to get him out. Tiger, wake up, man. Like, really, it's sickening to say. It's like the best golfer of my lifetime, arguably the best golfer of all time, him next to Jack Nicklaus. The records speak for themselves. And you can't use a driver to pick you up from the course. It's like, and if you're hiding something, that's on you. But to be selfish and put other people in harm's way, and even yourself in a residential neighborhood, you flip the car. This isn't the first time you flipped a car. Go get yourself some help, man. Really. Guys, on that note, thank you again for tuning into another episode of the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast. So much to cover. We covered on college basketball from March Madness with the Sweet 16, followed by the Elite Eight to the Final Four, and can't wait for this weekend's series of games, the automatic ball strike system in the MLB and how effective it was this past weekend. And then, of course, Duke choking the 19-point lead. But as always, guys, make sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. I didn't think I was going to get that much to be able to cover for you guys today, but the March Madness college basketball part of the show was the bulk of it, followed by, of course, the automatic ball strike system, the Celtics clinching the playoffs 12 straight year in a row, 50 wins for the Celtics in a gap year, as Jaylen Brown would say, Tatum getting the 14,000-point mark. And we will see you guys next week. We'll be talking about the national championship recap. If it's UConn, Michigan, if it's Michigan, Illinois, if it's Illinois, UConn, if it's Arizona, Illinois, it's Arizona, UConn, whatever one of those matchups is going to be, we'll be talking about it next week. As always, guys, remember, it's always Mamba mentality.